Good morning, it's Lisa from Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk to you about what it really takes to change your whole life in the inside, okay? Because we can make changes that change our life on the exterior, but we also need to focus on how we can change our life on the interior. So when you're changing your life, you're going to be sitting down and you're going to be making lots of goals. I want to have a better social life, a better relationship. I want a career I love. I want these hobbies. I would like to move. I would like to, right? And you start to, I would like a new house. I would like this. I would like that. So you start to create all these things in the physical world, in the area of things that you can do. When we're talking about completely changing our life, we're talking in three areas. We're going to completely change what we think, right? We're going to completely change our feelings and emotions, how we relate to our emotional world and our physical world. So, a lot of people just stay on the physical and they make all these changes and they don't understand why their internal world, their internal suffering, their internal pain and fears and shame and guilt and emotional world doesn't change. And that's why you can move locations, you can move homes, you can change careers, you can change relationship partners, you can have different hobbies, you can change your diet. But unless you're changing your emotional relationship to your feelings, to your thoughts and feelings in your inner world, then the inner landscape can't and won't change. So often people say, I've made all these changes, yet nothing's changing inside. And this is one of the reasons why. So how do we change our internal landscape so that all the external physical changes that we're making in the physical world can mean something different, and they can take on a new meaning that we intend for them to take on, right? So let's discuss this a little bit. Inside the inner world, we usually have different parts of our being, and if you haven't watched my video on fragmentation, go ahead and watch that. It's very important, and doing some inner parts work. So look back at that if you haven't already taken a look at that. But inside you have different parts of you that want to do things and don't want to do things. Things that are afraid, parts of you that are afraid, parts of you that are excited, parts of you that are anxious, parts of you that feel lonely, parts of you that long to have connection. So you have all these different parts inside of you, and we're looking to make changes, big changes, changing your entire life by changing this internal landscape. So we will never change our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions, and we don't want to disown them or push them away or invalidate them in any way. But what we need to do is change our story. So we all have a story. And you've probably seen any movie, any book. Just think of a book right now, or your favorite book or a character. And they go through this, they're the protagonist, they go through this journey, right? And the story is told from their point of view, right? They have an internal world, and the story is told from that internal world, from their point of view. And it's really important that we understand this. And I used to be a writer. Before I got sick, that's what I did. I wrote screenplays, I wrote plays. So let's just take this writing metaphor and break it down. There was always a protagonist who wanted a goal, who had an external want and a goal, but there was always a change that they needed to make internally and get what they truly needed. Their needs and wants were different. Their goals and what they internally wanted came into conflict with each other, and that was usually what the movie was about. Was although they were pursuing the outside action, the outside goal, we were really taking the audience on an inner journey of how that character grows and changes, and when their needs change inside, when they're able to figure out what it is that they need, which was usually love or acceptance or something else, then everything came into place and they were able to get that goal and meet their internal needs, and that's where the happy ending comes from. So, one thing, I'm just going to step off the side because we have some people walking and it's COVID time, and I'm just stepping off to be polite. So, anyways, look at the beautiful water behind me. You can see the water and the waves rolling in, and it's quite beautiful here. I just absolutely 100% love it. So peaceful, the sound of the waves. Okay, so let's get back to talking about our internal landscape. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is recognize that there is more than one way to tell a story. So the biggest thing is, and you probably read those books and seen those movies, that tell the story from different points of view. So you'll get a chapter about one character, or you'll get a clip, a scene about one character, and then you will flip it and we will see it from another person's point of view, right? And then another character's point of view. So you've all probably read those books or seen those movies where it's a compilation of the same story being told through different people's eyes, different characters' eyes. So this is the way that life works too. You can tell a very sad story to me about how you were wronged and abandoned and hurt and everybody left you and you were wronged and whatever happened. You can tell me this story about how someone betrayed you or abandoned you or didn't listen to your feelings, cheated on you, raped you, hit you, left you, died, whatever. You can tell this sad story from your point of view. But if we flip it and now tell it from the other character's point of view, you're going to see how they also have a sad story of their own. Maybe the reasons they did this, or maybe the reasons that this happened was because they live with an abusive family or an alcoholic family. They felt rejected by you. They felt that you did something. There's like a whole nother point of view about the sad story from somebody else's point of view. And then again, if you take another person in your life or another character's point of view who also has a stake in this story, you will hear again another side. So it's another angle, another side to the story, and there truly always is two. I don't know why that cut out, but there always truly is two sides to any story. So in your life, you've no doubt been hurt, abandoned. You feel shame, grief, sadness. You feel like people in your life don't understand, they don't get it. Try to tell the story from your spouse's point of view now. Really put yourself in their position and tell it. Tell their hurts, their pains, the way they feel you're hurting them or pulling away or what's going on in their life, and just tell the story from their point of view. Tell it from your child's point of view. Tell it from your parents' point of view. Tell it from that person's point of view who hurt you. Tell it from the villain's point of view in the story. Right? So we want to tell this story. And you can write it out. You can do this as practice. But you can write this story out in many, many different ways from all the people who have any stake in the story or any part in the story. And if you really let yourself journal, meditate, write, or think on this, you will see, and usually the free-flowing writing is the best way to do this, but you will see a story, a complete heartbreaking story from someone else's point of view as well. And it's really important to just step back and realize that there are different sides to this story and there are different point of views to this story, and it's not singular. It's not from your wounded story that you continue to tell over and over. There are other sides. There are other ways to interpret this story or to have it be told. So maybe you aren't the victim in the story that you believe yourself to be. Maybe there's another victim, or maybe somebody else feels that they did something. They had great intentions behind what they did, right? They're the hero of the story. there's always a different side to the story, and it's really important that you see that and you start to explore that and you start to tell that and see the different points of view of the same story. Because in order to change your world, you need to change your story. And first you need to see it from all angles and all other points of view, truly. That's step one. Then step two is we want to go inside of us, and I'll do another video on this because this video is getting longer, but inside of us, there are different parts of ourselves. There's the victim part, there's the warrior part, there's the wounded part, the part that feels scared. There's a part that feels joy and happiness and love and belonging. There's all these different parts to our one being. And in our story, we have maybe 1, 2, or 3 main parts that have taken over this story, this internal story within us. Maybe the wounded victim is one part that has risen up to tell this story, right? We're not telling it from a joyful, loving that loving aspect or that trusting aspect of ourselves inside of us. That's not who's telling this story when we tell it. It's the wounded victim. Maybe it's the fearful, anxious warrior who also tells this story. Maybe it is the person who's been abandoned, who's lonely and hurt and abandoned. And maybe this person is telling the story. So it's really important that we realize there's many different parts within ourselves that also see and tell this story in a different way. And right now we have allowed a few different parts to emerge to tell this story. And we continue to tell this story over and over from that point of view, or from limited points of view. So why I say this, why I say it's important to do the first step first, is because we need to see it from other people's point of view in the world, in our lives. Once we can clearly do that, it's really important to step inward and see it from the points of view of the different parts and the different aspects of ourselves within us, because they're at conflict with each other. And again, if you haven't seen my videos on internal conflict and the different parts within ourselves, go back and watch that video. But these different parts inside us are warring. They're warring. And one is emerging victorious as the main character, the protagonist in our inner world right now, and the story is being shared through their eyes. And the problem is, usually this quality is the controller, or the controlling aspect, or the fearful, or the victim that is telling the story, right? It's not the other parts that have been hurt and shunned and left and lonely, and these parts that are beautiful within us, trusting, loving, forgiving, grateful. These parts of us have been hidden away, and the other parts rise up to tell the story. Now, there's always different sides to the story, even within our own aspect of being. And that's what we really want to get to when we talk about changing our entire life. So we will get to more how-to videos on this. I hope that this has been a good explanation just to start us out with, and I will see you in the next video.